guys? Welcome to another exciting episode of Haunt Talk. Yay! Today we will be doing a review for Fright Farm. They kind of dropped the riches, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
it used to be referred to as Rich's Fright Farm. Now, it's just Fright Farm, so that's what we're going to refer to it as. It's just Fright Farm, not Rich's Fright Farm. Not to be confused with Cheeseman's Fright Farm, which is not that close, but like an hour and a half away.
Yeah.
But also similar concept, but so different in how it's done.
Yeah.
They're both hayrides that drop you off to go to haunted houses.
Yeah.
But the way it's done is
the concept and
completely
everything.
different.
Yeah.
One really interesting thing about this is 4 years ago or 5 years ago, we went to Rich's Fright Farm, and I thought we did we both thought we did a review on it. We were talking about we think we knocked it for this and that. No, we didn't do a review for it because that was the year we weren't doing reviews.
Yeah.
And so there's not a review on the channel for this place since almost 10 years ago, 8 years ago. Yeah. So we have been there since the last time on the channel, but so now it is time, as always, to refer to Book of the Dead. Book of the Dead. Book of the Dead. Book of the Dead. So as always, the first category we are going to cover, which is always the longest category, is sets and props. Yes. Or as I mistyped it in my notes, sets up prop.
Sets up prop.
Sets up prop. I don't know.
It works.
Type them in a car.
Yeah.
So we don't forget things. We go to so many where if we don't type them out, we forget.
Yeah, or they start blending together and you're like, wait, no, that was the other one.
Yeah, so I always have to do that. So as I was saying before, you start on the hayride, and we're going to kind of go in order of how the haunt goes here. So for one, there was no one else there. We got lucky. It was a perfect night. We actually had to wait 15, 20 minutes. Because there wasn't enough people. They're we need to wait. We have a few more people to send on this hay wagon. So that was cool. And I will kind of preface this with saying, if you go, your experience may vary. We kind of had the perfect type of scenario and experience where there really wasn't anyone else. So we never caught up to anyone. No one ever really caught up to us because the group was so small. We just kind of, got to walk at our leisure and all of that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So, if you go and my experience wasn't as good as yours, because, spoiler alert, we're going to gush a little bit on this place when we actually start getting into it here. If you go and it's not as great, like I said, we kind of had ideal conditions, and as I always say in these reviews, we have to review on what we saw, good or bad.
Yes.
Because I've had other people tell me, other haunts we've done good reviews on, they're when I went it was terrible, or, oh, you said it was terrible, and it was great when I was there, and it's again, we can only, that's why we like to repeat them every other year, some every year, but. Yeah. So we actually went to the gift shop for a little bit, and the gift shop was super cool.
Oh my gosh.
Kind of expensive in there, but check it out.
Oh my god. The decor, just itself.
It's
I wanted to buy the decor.
Oh, I know. They have they have their own little neon sign that says Fright Farm. They have tons of stuff you can buy though. Anything. They have flip-flops that are themed to Fright Farm. Yeah. Hilarious. Anything you could possibly want to show someone that you've been to Fright Farm, you can find.
Yes.
But so when you start in the hay wagon, the first scene you come across is, it's kind of weird. Nothing really happened to the actual first scene. It was this wall, and I think it was it was a voice that was welcome to Fright Farm or something.
Yeah. Well, no, there was an animatronic was there.
Oh, okay.
But I was hoping that something else would happen because there was this wall that had these coke ovens.
Yeah.
And there was an animatronic there that said stuff, about welcome to Fright Farm and, all this creepy shit's going to happen and stuff like that. Yeah. And then nothing really happened. And I was
I don't know if there's supposed to be actors there. Again, opening night, literally opening night. Yeah. So, and this place is so huge. I don't even know how many actors there. But we'll get that more in actors. Yeah. The next scene was a cemetery on a hill. That was pretty cool.
That was really cool.
Yep. And then there's western towns you kind of drive through. There's a church I know you pass by. They had a couple barns that they locked you in. Yeah, they actually take the wagon inside a couple I think there's 3 buildings or something that they take you inside. Yeah, well I think there's 2 the night we were up. We saw another building where did we go through that one already, or is that one not open? I think we might have went through it when we were going back to the mansion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I think they only locked us in 2. The first one had actors and they did stuff. We'll talk more about that later. But the second one, there was no actors. It was just this pyrotechnic show.
Yeah, it was neat.
It was neat. I don't really know. I was and then we got to go through Kim's favorite thing.
I'm sorry, but when you're in a hay wagon, it's just the coolest thing because you can't control like how it's turning
Well, I didn't say what
and
it
stuff
was.
like that. It was a vortex tunnel,
Yeah.
and I don't know. It just gives you this like weird
It
like
is cool.
because you're sitting there on this wagon, and this wagon's just like. They did stop us, and unfortunately, we were too close in the front of the wagon that we kind of lost a little bit of the vortex. But it was just really cool to go through because it literally like feels like the wagon's just slowly tipping with it, and I just think it's a really cool idea.
Yeah. So the hayride is like decent. It's pretty good. There's lots of cool like sets out there. But then you pull up to this insane mansion that they built just for this, and that's when it gets ridiculous. This place. And what a change it's been since the 4 or 5 years that we were there last. My God. So you get up, and there's another little queue line that they sometimes will have you wait in. We waited like a second because, again, there really wasn't anyone else. So you walk into this giant mansion, and you go through the basement first.
Yes.
And it's so themed down there. They have like rats that are coming like out of the, like, the little, like there's like pipes and stuff you walk through. There's other creepy, cool basement stuff.
Like water and
there's like water effects. I think there was like sciencey type things down there maybe.
Yeah.
Like just kind of like creepy, dingy basement stuff that they have built down. And again, this is the giant mansion thing, and I've inserted pictures, I'm sure, here and there. They kind of give like how big this thing is from the outside. It's kind of insane. And then you leave the mansion and you walk around what is the most impressive cemetery I've ever seen at a haunt.
Like the like mausoleums and things like that they built in these cemeteries are real.
Like they're like stone. Like I would touch
stone.
them and they're not like styrofoam. Like they are heavy stone. Like I wasn't hurting anything, but I would like put my hand on it because I'll do that sometimes just because I'm curious what things are made out of. I'll just like lightly tap things, and I'll be like, oh, like this is heavy stone.
Yeah.
And like they have like a thunderstorm going on. They have rain effects, and it wasn't raining, but a couple times where I'm like, it was so convincing.
Yeah.
And like there's all these like cool like wicked lanterns and stuff lighting your path, which is like a real cobblestone path. By the way.
Yeah. It was just, and like the tombstones were real, and like just. Like they had like the beautiful sculptures, like the like angels, beautiful. And just
I was just smiling the whole time. And there's like this so thunderstorm going on, and like at one point you like kind of go into like this little underground in-ground section.
Yeah,
there's like a little mausoleum that's kind of like down into this hill. And the cemetery is just amazing. There's like fountains. It's just amazing. And then like you start to explore a little bit more of this like property that the mansion's on. I know there's like this witch in a field, and there's like this thing that was spewing fire. And then you end up going and walking by. There's this watermill that they built again for this attraction. Just a watermill they built for this attraction with a running river, that a bridge you walk over. Yeah,
you go into the building that has the water wheel.
Eventually you do, But before that, you go into, they have like this whole like barn area. It was like where the barn is of the mansion, I assume. And that's like the slaughter barn, There's like that. Oh God, and the strobe lights.
Oh yeah, there's a maze in this slaughter barn that I have never seen strobe lights used so effectively, and like I want to say perfect, because they were timed perfect. And it was so distracting. We both were
it was hard.
We kept backing into each other, and just like, I was just like, I don't know where I'm at.
It was so distracting. Like usually like when they do the thing with strobes that come at your face with a chainsaw, I think this guy had, but anything in particular, it doesn't really bother me that much. But this was so disorienting that it really looked like he was about to like put it through my face, and it really freaked me out, and I had to stop. Like I know that he knows what he's doing, and
he could have came at me with like a kitten, and I still would have been terrified because it was
weird.
It was so disorientating, and it was just like, where is things, and like it was just so done well.
Yeah, and then you make your way over to, I have like as a farmhouse, but it was probably like the guest house, because again, I think the idea is this is all something that's on this giant mansion's property.
Yeah, it's property.
So then you go through this, like it's like a smaller haunted house. You go through that, and then you go through that watermill. You go through that, like I said, there's bridges and all this cool stuff, and then you make your way back into the mansion again. And now you're on like more of you're like on the living quarter floors.
Yeah, so you have like a really cool library, and I mean really cool, like papers thrown about.
The details.
Just so much detail in it. Like, and then, it was crazy.
There's a kitchen you walk through, and there was a kitchen maid. I don't know if it's the same every night, but that person was really funny.
Yes.
And you walk down into like, it's not like the basement, but like in a little wine cellar it is. Which I think also ties in because it looked like there's like a vineyard-esque type thing that you walked through earlier.
Yeah.
And even had the scent of wine. At least it smelled like it. I think that's what it was
smelled
supposed to be.
real fruity in there. And I was like, oh, it smells yummy in here. And then I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, there's wine.
Yeah. And like the library was really cool. And then you kind of like exit and go a little bit outside, but then you come back in and you make your way actually upstairs into this house. And that's when you get to the attic, and they had a really impressive like kid/doll room scene.
Yeah.
Like this again, the detail, like the lights are flickering, everything's just lit so perfectly, and just everything looks like it's lived. And that's something that it was not that good when we were there before. Like they had stuff there, it was nice, but it's nothing like this. I mean, this feels like, I don't even know, it's like some of the best haunted attractions we've been to, just put back to back to back.
Yeah.
Because it was gigantic. And then one of the last themes is like a circus theme, and even that was cool. Because you kind of like walk, this is like the thing that's like at the most upstairs. I know they used to have a slide up here, but they did not have a slide. But you walk up and you're kind of like on this like, catwalk kind of thing.
Yeah.
Call it that.
Yeah.
And you kind of like look down and you just see like this really cool like circus display thing.
Yeah, it was just like you just walk into this like 3-ring circus and you're just like, okay. Like,
Yeah.
It's very disorientating too because there's all these different levels and you're not sure where you're supposed to go, and there's like, you know, the music going on and the bright colors and everything, and it just was really like really cool. Like, I've never seen like a circus theme
Not
done up like this before.
Yeah, and then and they had a really cool laser swamp there.
Oh, the
that
laser
was cool.
swamp.
It's
I
kind
was
of like,
too short for the laser swamp.
well, they kind of like make it so it looks like you're going underwater.
I was still too short. I'm like, sorry if you're under here because I can see you. I didn't see anybody, but it was funny because they had it so that it was like you were going underwater.
Yeah. And then one of the last things, they have you go through another vortex tunnel. You walk through, and then directly outside the vortex tunnel, you step out, and it's all like tilted room type of stuff with like these strings to kind of. And this was probably the least detailed part of the haunt because like the end like kind of turns into a fun house for a minute, which it got kind of crazy. There's like the moving floorboards and all of that, but these tilted rooms right after you get thrown out of a vortex tunnel is really like.
It was very disorientating. Yes,
Yeah,
for sure.
For sure, but yeah, this place. God, we could go on and on about it, but yeah, it's insane how good the sets and props were. The hayride was good, like for sets and props, but the manor, like,
Oh my gosh.
it's almost unreal. Like there at one point, like I think we were almost halfway through. I just look at him and I'm just like, this. I don't know how this place exists. Like this is such an insane amount of work that's been done for this attraction. Yeah, sets and props is obviously a 10, if you couldn't tell from us kind of gushing on that. We'll try and get through the other categories more quickly, but yeah. So that brings us to actors next.
All right, so back to the hayride when we went into area that was a cemetery. We're driving through, and I look over and I see this guy, and I see him just kind of like come around the corner, and then he kind of disappears. And I'm like, what happened? Well, then we get a little bit closer to the cemetery, and he's crawling on the ground like towards our hay wagon, and I'm just like, what the heck?
Yeah, just crawling down this hill.
Yeah, it was the
cool.
creepiest, weirdest thing
creepy.
I ever seen. I was like, oh, what just happened?
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah. Let's see. We have chainsaw guys.
Oh, yeah, this is referring to, so the first barn they lock you in has, like, dual chainsaw guys. And I don't know if it was part of the thing, but it was cool. Like, when we pull in, the lights shut off, and he's not doing anything. There's just this guy, he's, like, I don't know if he was supposed to be smoking a cigarette, but it was cool.
Yeah.
He's, like, smoking a cigarette, and he just kind of slowly walks over, finishes it, and, like, flicks it, whatever. Then he picks up his chainsaw and then just, like, turns it on, and I'm like... I don't know, I just thought it was really badass the way he did it. Again, I don't know if he was just kind of like, oh shit, here's the next wagon, or if it was like something planned. But either way, it was cool.
Yeah, it did seem kind of cool. Like, I'm like, okay, this guy gives 0 shits. But then I'm like, it actually was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's kind of like I'm the badass chainsaw pig guy. But, yeah, they could use more actors on the hayride. There's definitely some spots that I didn't even seem to be working or like there. There's a couple scenes that like nothing happened, and I think it's just because they were short on actors. Again, opening night, but you know they definitely could use a few more on the hayride itself.
Yes.
most of the hayride scenes were, as any hayride, most of them are like dialogue driven. I would have liked to seen a few more scares on them. I know that's,
Yeah.
but yeah, most of them are just like the actors kind of like saying, "Oh, they're gonna kill you" or something like that.
Yeah. There was one, I don't even know what he was saying to the woman, but there was like, it was like a dueling kind of thing where there was a woman on the one side and she kept screaming about something, and there was a guy on the other side that was saying something to her, and she was responding to him with the screams, but I couldn't understand what they were saying. I'm assuming it had some sort of story as to why she was screaming, but yeah, I don't know, maybe they need like some microphones or something, I don't know.
Who knows? But yeah, so then like you get to, oh yeah, the cute old lady at the manor.
There was a really, we get to the manor and we're in the queue line for, like he said before, we were only there for like maybe 30 seconds because they like space out everybody. And it was this little old lady and she had like a cloak on and stuff like that. And she didn't do much, but she just turns to us and like slowly lifts the hood up a little bit. And she goes, "May God have mercy. Mother won't." And then just gets out of the way and goes like that and lets us go up. And we're just like, okay, creepy much.
Right.
Very effective, though. She was really cool.
There were, we said, so much, a lot more than like, well, at least for what it is, a lot more than the hayride of actors here. Could still use a few more, but they, do something that me and Kim have been a fan of, is just good design where a lot of the scare actors have multiple ways to scare you, which I really like. And this place was so immaculate that like even in like spots where like there might be a little bit of a dead section, like there's just so much to look at. Like this is the easiest place to get distraction scares because there's so much to look at where I'm like, I don't even care if someone scares my pants off. Like I need to look at these things that are happening. Like we talked about a lot of it in sets and props, but there's still a lot of things that we didn't talk about. One
area that actually did really well with the multiple scares by one actor, he scared him and made him make some noise that I've never heard before, and the guy actually, the actor actually looked at me and started laughing, and he's like, "What was that?"
Yeah.
And then he actually showed up in the next room because he was hidden in this little corridor that he was able to get us in the next room. He tried to get him to make the noise again. But usually when Josh makes a noise or reacts and stuff, it's usually like a one and done, like usually once per house, like what he says or screams or whatever.
I don't even know. It's just some kind of crazy scream.
Yeah, I don't even remember what the noise was. He scared me
really bad. I don't know.
It was funny. It was really funny because the actor even was so taken back by it. He was just like, "What was that?"
Yeah, it was funny that he kind of like kept poking fun at it too, and then he really tried to get that out of me again.
Yeah.
And everyone had like really appropriate costuming and that kind of thing as well. Like, like everyone that was in the cemetery was very like either like zombie or like wraith.
Yeah.
Kind of decorated. Then you had your slaughter barn people that were like piggies and stuff like that. And then a lot of people at the house, they were like themed to their scene, like the housewife person.
Yeah, the costume was actually really, really cool. It was like a 50s like housewife with the big hair and everything. She was a little crispy. But yeah, I heard the outfit was great.
The circus guy, like, cause you kind of had to kept walking around this guy, and he was just kind of heckling you. I never really necessarily tried to scare you, but he was just like heckling you the whole time because there's multiple points where you would like.
Yeah, well, he got us once.
Did he?
When we walked in, he did get us, and then he kept trying to get us again, and he just kept going like, "Hi again." Yeah, it was pretty funny.
And then the ghillie suit guy, he scared the crap. Like, I don't even know if he was trying. Like, I didn't see him, and he didn't even like try and like jump scare me. I don't think.
Yeah, no.
But I turned and just saw him, and he scared the crap out of me because he was just there, and I'm like, oh God, where'd you come from? But yeah, the actors were really good. The ones that were there, some of them had good dialogue and stuff, interactive. I like the costuming. We just wish there was a bit more.
Of course.
Quite a few more in the hayride. The haunt and the trail itself was pretty decent. It could use a couple more, but I felt like it was pretty well staffed, though.
Yeah, it was.
Especially for opening night, and I assume they probably will have more people. So, like, if you go later in the year, the hayride, let us know, actually, if you go later in the year, and if you felt like the hayride was appropriately staffed or not. But, again, not bad, though, for the hayride, I mean. Of course, it wasn't bad for the house. But we gave actors a 9.
Yes.
Let's see. So that brings us into our next category, which of course is scare factor. How scary was it?
Pretty
I felt like
scary.
it was decently scary. Yeah, I felt like it was decently scary. Again, the biggest thing about this place is just the elaborateness of it all, but they had some pretty decent scares in there.
Oh, yeah.
We got a few times.
Yeah, I mean, they had lots of cool distractions, like big puppets and stuff like that.
Yeah, they had a lot of cool
Anytime
puppets.
they did have animatronics, they were used very well. A lot of them were like kind of homemade things.
They had like, it was weird, like the rats were like on these like sliders, and they were just kind of back
and then
forth.
they had one of the jumping spiders, but he was like on their own mechanism.
Yeah,
like,
he used the
popped
same
out
slider
like
thing. He came around like a corner.
Yeah,
That
it was
cool.
really funny. I'm like, that's a jumping spider, but not.
Yeah, they had some puppets that would come out and get you. Lots of like loud noises and stuff. And there was a good amount of gore as well, with like things like there being a slaughter theme and stuff like that. So there was, a good amount of gore.
Yeah.
There too. None of them really focused on the gore, but there was a bit. It was a bit, just not like a crazy amount or anything.
Yeah,
like
no, nothing super like, ugh, but I mean, they had a perfect amount.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing of the scare factor is the atmosphere. Like I said, it's so easy. There's so many things to look at, and I think if they do get more actors too, that'll really up the scare factor, of course, as well. Because like it is just impossible to really like be looking for other places people could be hiding. Because like I think even if you're someone that you just go to the haunt, like you're not someone like us that's like an enthusiast. Like you just go because like your friend wants to go to a haunt with you, and you're like, okay, let's go to the one haunt a year we go to. I think even you will appreciate the amount of detail that goes in this place.
Yeah.
I can't imagine anyone walking through and not being at least a little bit in awe by what they've done.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that just that's not everything. We go to haunts that are good, that aren't real elaborate, because not everyone has this in the budget. And Fright Farm's been open for a while, and so they're using the money they're making off of this event every year to very good use, which is always lovely to see that. But it does help with scare factor because you're so enamored in the environment that you're within that it distracts you, and then people go and you get scared. But for scare factor, we did give it a 9, very decently scary. It's one you could take your teenager to, but you probably wouldn't want to take like younger kids to this one.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say this is an extremely family-friendly haunt. It's a little more on the intense side.
Yeah, I would say anything like any kids like under like 9 maybe would be a little bit too much.
Yeah,
for
I wouldn't
them.
even bring them through under 12 because they're annoying.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways,
So that brings us to value. General admission is $30. VIP is $60, and it took us about 50 minutes to get through it. 20 of that was the hayride, and the rest was the manor.
So the manor's, about 30 minutes long. And that was basically, for the most part, nonstop. There might, I think we technically were at like 53 minutes, but 3 of those minutes was getting off the wagon and getting to the house.
Yeah.
And again, it was a dead night, so if you're doing multiple haunts, I would make this one of the last haunts you do because it's so long. The experience itself is so long, and waiting to get in if it's a busy night, it's going to be so long. And VIP is expensive for this place. It's literally double the price.
Yeah.
It was a nice opening night. It was $25. It was $5 off. So that's kind of cool that they did a slight discount on opening night. Probably because they know that there might be a couple things that they haven't worked the kinks out yet. But besides it being a little bit understaffed, I think that there really wasn't anything that I saw, at least, that wasn't working properly. I didn't see anything that stood out to me as like, oh, this isn't working right now. But
yeah, I didn't see anything.
It seemed like everything was
that.
running great. Yeah. And one thing I will kind of add to, and this kind of ties into value, I guess, is this was also different. Before it was just your typical, you walk up, you get in a queue, and they would have performers, but they did away with that, which is cool. It's kind of like how Wells Township does it now, and I guess Terratown, which we plan on probably going to this year, does this where they give you a number, and they have a big like board thing, and the number goes up, and then that's the only time you really wait in line is to wait in line once your number's called.
Yeah.
But besides that, they have that big gift shop to go through, which has like a cafe inside.
They had like a midway with games.
Yes. And then escape
room. And they did have a stage, so I'm assuming that later in the year they will have performers.
And it's cool where all the queue lines where there's just like picnic tables now, because there's also an outside food place too.
Yeah, and there's a pizza place inside the gift shop.
Yeah.
And so like you can basically just chill and wait for your number to be called rather than just stand in a line.
Which is so much better. So much better, especially if you're not doing the VIP, because I know in years past when we went, we've had to wait a while for this place. Does get busy later in the year. I was actually surprised because 100 Acre Manor is very busy, but this place wasn't crazy busy opening night, which we were happy about. But we felt value was just really good because of how good the attraction was, and it's very long.
Oh my gosh.
I could see it taking even longer, to get through this attraction than what we did. But since there was really no one impeding us, like, we don't run through haunts, but like
we kind of walk really slow.
We try and walk slow because we don't want to catch up to people. But like this one, since like there was no one really in sight of us, like there might have been a couple times where we were just so like enamored, we were maybe like kind of just moving along a little faster. But we gave value a 10, just because the length of it. I mean, $30 isn't. It's a little up there for haunts, but at the same time, for what you're getting for that $30 and the fact that you're not even stuck in a queue, I think is great.
Yes.
VIP is kind of expensive, but this one is not as necessary since you're not just standing in a straight line unless you do need to get to like other haunts afterwards, I would say. And so that brings us to our overall score, and we kind of debated on what exactly to give it, if we wanted to give it a 9.5 or something like that, but we decided to give it a 10. We don't give 10s out very often, but
no,
I would consider this like a must-see attraction now.
Yes, for sure. Oh my gosh.
If you've been there in years past, from my understanding, they've made huge improvements this year. Like, this is, again, it's been like 4 or 5 years since we've been there. So I wasn't sure exactly when, but even if you were there, like, I think in 2020 they did the hayride, but I believe the manor was closed. I don't know if they did in the outside sections, but they did have the manor closed down. So that's a pretty big portion of the haunt that was closed.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it is so much more detailed, so much better, so much improved, that you really should go check this out, even if it's one that you've done recently, because it's kind of like, it wasn't as drastically better, because I'm going to compare it to Blood Prison, where it used to be pretty bad, and then we went a couple years later when someone else started taking over, and it was so much better. I wouldn't say it wasn't that bad before.
Yeah, no,
it wasn't bad before.
It
It just was good.
Yeah, it was just good. But this all the improvements they did just built it up to great.
Yeah, as far as atmosphere and sets and props go, I don't think it could be more perfect. Like I said, our only qualm is we wanted a few more actors, but even that was pretty damn good. Like, and since the worst things were still pretty dang good, like, that's why we kind of have to give it a 10, just because, like, you need to go out and see this thing, and it's definitely a contender for Haunt of the Year. We're at to see some of the other ones we go to, but it's also cool you get to do a hayride. You could do a hayride before you go to the haunt. They just drop you off at this giant mansion. And just the drive up, because like the last part of the hayride before you get to the mansion, like there's nothing there. You just drive kind of slowly up to this towering building that's all these red lights are being shown on it. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, let us know, if you're watching this later in the year, do you agree with our opinion? Do you think it's as good as, we're saying? Were you there, last year or the year before? How do you think it compares to this year? Because since it's been longer for us, I'm curious to hear that. And also, if there's any other places, you want us to review, make sure you always let us know what places you'd like to see us go and talk about. And make sure, she's going to do it, make sure you subscribe and ring the notification bell. So you don't miss any of our upcoming videos, and subscribe and all of that stuff as well. We do a lot of other stuff besides just haunted houses. We have a podcast called Creeps, Creatures, and Haunts.
Oh, my.
We're kind of slowing down on that right now, but there's like 30 episodes of that you can go listen to right now. There's quite a few of those uploaded, and we're going to get back to doing those more when the haunt season's over, but that's where we talk about like creepy stuff. Like, sometimes we'll upload haunted house stuff on there, but it's mainly about like cryptids, ghosts, aliens, that kind of stuff, fun stuff like that. But yes, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you guys in the next episode.
Bye.